Hello there, everyone. This is Miriam, holistic life coach and mind body practitioner at Pain Outside the Box. And today I'm going to be talking about a slightly different topic to the usual, and that's the topic of faith and healing. So, some of you who have embarked on the mind-body approach to chronic pain or symptoms, so those of you who are looking into emotional causes behind your ailments or behind your chronic symptoms, might have heard of the phrase, trust the process, that you have to trust the process or that you have to have faith. And I know that faith sounds like an overly religious word to some of you. And this is why I wanted to explain what faith means in healing. Because I'm sure that it will help, especially those of you who are not really religious, to embark on this process in a more ideal manner, let's say, in the correct way. So, what do I mean by faith? What do healers and mind-body practitioners in general mean by faith? So if you are religious, you can definitely harness your religious belief to incorporate faith in the healing process. So you might decide to pray in whoever you believe in and incorporate that faith that whatever you believe in, whether it's God, source, will actually allow your healing to take place. As long as you do this from a spirit of pure faith, from a spirit of belief that whatever you're wishing for is possible, then this is likely to get you some results, right? What you shouldn't be doing is praying from a spirit of desperation, from a feeling of lack. And where most people go wrong, especially people who practice religious faith, is that they pray from a position of feeling that their prayers are dependent upon something external answering them, okay? So when you feel that, someone else, God or whatever, will take the final decision for your healing, when you feel dependent on, let's say, an external force, you are probably praying from a space of helplessness, from a place of disbelief and lack of faith even. Because faith in itself involves this feeling of knowing that what you're asking for is definitely possible. And there's actually a scientific process going on also behind all of this. Because when we have faith that either a force outside of ourselves will help us progress or a force inside of ourselves will heal us, when we have this kind of faith, what we are doing is we are releasing resistance. And for those of you who have heard me speak before, you will know that resistance is the number one factor behind chronic pain and chronic symptoms. What we resist persists. So when we resist our symptoms, when we are trying to fight them, when we are wanting to desperately get rid of them at all costs, then we are creating this tension inside of us. We are creating real physical tension in the body, real stress, chronic stress, negative emotions, leading to less than wanted chemicals and physical changes that keep us stuck in pain or disease. So what we need to ultimately do to have the best chances of healing is actually to release our resistance to the symptoms first. So we are not working against the symptoms, we are just working on the belief that the tension and whatever is unwell in our body is able to change, it's able to release. But we have to be there to allow the release. If we are constantly in fight mode, if we're constantly fighting the symptoms, then we are still in resistance. So faith is a great tool in order to release this resistance. And you can employ it even if you are not particularly religious. You don't have to be religious to have faith. In fact, Dr. Joe Dispenza, the popular neuroscientist, says that we all have healing capabilities within us Our body knows exactly what to do to heal. What keeps us from healing is our own chronic negative emotional states. And in his book, You Are the Placebo, he explains the scientific process behind healing and behind the placebo effect, which most of you know about, okay? So the placebo effect occurs when healing takes place because you believe that something is helpful. So the placebo effect takes place when you take a drug, for example, and you really believe that it's going to work for you. And for this reason, it does. And it happens also with placebo drugs or placebo treatments, which are treatments that really have no real drug, no real chemicals that would help the body. So it's just there to trick your brain into believing that this treatment or drug might work. And we actually see real healings take place in groups of people who take placebo drugs. So Dispenza's theory is that actually you have the power of the placebo within you. You don't even need to take a placebo drug. You just have to harness that same mode of thinking, that same belief and faith that your body can heal as a result of something. Okay? To mention someone completely different, Jesus Christ in the Bible is quoted several times saying to people who he has just healed that your faith has made you well. So this phrase is written several times in the Bible when it comes to Jesus healing other people. And it's really interesting to see it from a mind-body perspective as well. It's not that Jesus wasn't a great healer. Of course, he was a great healer. But also the fact that he says your faith has made you well, he is telling that person that if it weren't for her or his belief in him, his belief that, you know, he can heal or she can heal, then the healing wouldn't have taken place. And this is really huge. It's really important to understand. Christ knew that, you know, it requires a certain amount of personal change, a mindset shift for a person to heal. He wouldn't have been able to heal them just on his own without the other person's involvement. So that's really interesting to see from that perspective as well. So how can you employ faith even if you're not religious or if you are religious? So I see faith as being a process of believing and trusting your body. If you are going through a TMS program or a mind-body approach, it starts with allowing the possibility that your symptoms can change. After all, the body is in constant change. Our cells are changing all the time. Nothing is ever the same. So it involves first the belief that any kind of healing is possible. No matter how painful your symptoms are right now, no matter how helpless it feels, it starts with at least allowing the idea, the possibility that a positive change can occur in your body. And this is what we also mean by saying trust the process. So trust that by allowing yourself to explore your emotions, to explore your sensations in a different way, you will be going towards this positive change. So rather than constantly wanting the change or the healing to take place, it's more about allowing it to take place. It's more about allowing some sort of release to take place within you, just by knowing that this is possible. Let me give you another example. So let's say you're desperate for something to happen, like you're desperate for a friend to call you, and this friend ends up never calling you. Okay, you are operating from a spirit of helplessness, from a spirit of desperation. You just want this to happen. Well, then this is not a real friend, right? With a real friend, you would know that at some point this person is going to call you. You have faith, you trust that this person is going to call you. As a result, your mental state is different. You're not helpless. You're not constantly wondering when he or she is going to call you. You just know she's going to call you. So it's this feeling of knowing, this inner knowing that you are aiming for, okay? It's the state that you need to cultivate, whether you're trying to meditate or practicing emotional release, whatever you are doing to attempt to heal your symptoms, you need to incorporate the spirit of knowing that your healing is possible. And this knowing has to feel good. It doesn't feel like you're trying to fight something. It doesn't feel like despair. It feels like, okay, like this isn't happening yet, but I just know things will get better. It's an inner feeling, and it can be cultivated as you go through the TMS recovery process, because as you go through the process, you get more in touch with your own emotions, you get more in touch with your resistance, okay? You start to make sense of things. You also learn that TMS and chronic pain is largely a mind-body process. So as you gain the right information, you realize it's possible, okay? Also, as you learn about other people's success stories, you realize that this is possible. And this will help you cultivate this feeling of trust and knowing that this can work for you too. And I wanted to emphasize this in this video because I notice in a lot of people, it's lack of belief and lack of faith that keeps them stuck. They just think that somehow they are special, their situation is special, that something in their case is going to hold them back. They just can't see the possibility that they can be much, much better. It's as if there's something clouding this possibility. Of course, because of what they've been through already, because of the negative experiences they've had with their body. But if we just allow ourselves, even if we feel like we're kidding ourselves in the beginning, if we just allow ourselves to accept that there is a possibility, okay, for our body, for our chronic symptoms to get better, then we can start practicing real faith. Then we can start changing our mental state from resistance to acceptance, allowing, and that strong knowing or faith. And who knows, it might be just the solution. Okay, so that's all from me for today. I wish you all a lovely week, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.